What if the child you raised with every sacrifice grew up to save your life? What if the very hands you once held while crossing the street became the hands that healed you in a hospital room? This is not just a story about a son becoming a doctor. It's a story of a mother's silent struggle and a son's unforgettable promise. Before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. It was always just Maya and her son, Aiden. In a tiny apartment with peeling wallpaper and secondhand furniture, they built a world out of whispered lullabies and shared leftovers. Maya was a single mother by circumstance, not choice, left behind before Aiden was born, and forced to make a life from pieces no one else wanted. She worked 3 jobs, cleaning offices by dawn, stocking shelves by day, and waiting tables by night. Yet through it all, she never let Aiden see her break. She smiled through aching feet, laughed through empty cupboards, and kissed his forehead each night like everything was fine. Aiden, even as a child, knew. He saw the way her shoulders slumped when she thought he wasn't looking. He heard the tired sighs after midnight, the muffled coughs, the quiet pauses where strength used to be. He never said anything, but the image of his mother, tired, hungry, but never defeated, etched itself deep inside him. Love, he realized, wasn't loud. Sometimes it was a woman giving up everything just so her child could sleep with full dreams. Aiden grew up faster than most boys. By the time he was 9, he knew how to make scrambled eggs, how to refill his mom's tea when she was too tired to stand, how to stretch $1 into dinner. But what bothered him most weren't the sacrifices. It was the things Maya hid. Her winces when lifting laundry. The way she touched her side with a sharp breath when she thought no one noticed. The times she stared blankly at her reflection in the cracked mirror, as if waiting to feel better. "I'm just tired, sweetheart," she'd always say. Aiden believed her until he couldn't anymore. One evening, after a particularly long shift, Maya collapsed on the kitchen floor. No warning, no sound, just her body folding in on itself like it had finally given up. Aiden froze for a second, then ran to her, heart pounding, mind racing. That night changed everything. Sitting in the emergency room, legs swinging from a plastic chair too big for him, Aiden didn't cry. He just stared at the doctor, memorizing every movement, every word. Something inside him stirred, something fierce, focused, and unshakable. That hospital waiting room was cold, quiet, and humming with the sound of unseen machines. Aiden sat with his knees pulled to his chest, watching doctors come and go in white coats, speaking a language he didn't yet understand. He felt helpless, a wordless kind of fear that sat in his chest like stone. A nurse offered him juice. He shook his head. He didn't want juice. He wanted answers. His mom was behind those walls, fragile and human in a way he'd never seen before. That night, Aiden made a vow. He didn't speak it aloud. He didn't need to. In his heart, a single sentence took root. "I will fix this. I will become the person she needs." Later, while waiting for updates, he found a notepad on the reception desk. On it, he drew a stethoscope, then a heart, then the word mom. It was crude, childlike, but real. That sketch would stay with him for years, folded and tucked between textbooks, the seed of a dream that wasn't about ambition. It was about saving the one person who had saved him every single day of his life. As the years passed, Aiden became a quiet storm of purpose. He didn't tell Maya about the vow he'd made. Instead, he buried it deep and let it guide him. At school, while other kids joked and daydreamed, Aiden studied. Science became his language. Biology made sense. It had rules, patterns, causes, and effects. Unlike life, which felt messy and unfair, medicine offered a kind of order he craved. He read textbooks from the library, stayed late in the lab, and shadowed school nurses when allowed, all while helping his mother manage her now-diagnosed autoimmune condition. She still worked, though less, still smiled, though more carefully. And through it all, she never asked him to slow down, never once hinted that he owed her anything. But Aiden carried her pain like a compass. Every lecture, every late night, every sacrifice was a quiet thank you. He wasn't just becoming a doctor. He was becoming her doctor, even if she didn't know it yet. High school ended with scholarships and letters of recommendation. But college, especially med school, was a beast of its own. Aiden juggled part-time jobs, student loans, and a workload that left no room for mistakes. Some nights, he fell asleep at the library desk. Other nights, he didn't sleep at all. Still, he never wavered. He'd call Maya every evening, no matter how tired, just to hear her voice. She'd ask about classes, make jokes about becoming his first patient, and always end with the same line, "Don't worry about me, baby. Just follow your dream." But what she didn't know was, she was the dream. When her condition worsened during his second year, she didn't tell him. Not at first. She didn't want to distract him. But Aiden found out anyway. He always did. That night, staring at the scan results she tried to hide, he didn't speak. He just held her hand. No words, no anger, just quiet resolve. They never said it out loud, but they both knew. He would carry her and she would let him. It was the middle of winter when Maya collapsed again, this time in the hallway outside their apartment. Aiden was 17. He'd just returned from his part-time shift at the pharmacy. When he saw her on the floor, he didn't scream. He dropped beside her, heart racing, checking her pulse the way he'd seen paramedics do on YouTube. Maya's eyes fluttered open, weak and confused. "I'm okay," she whispered. But she wasn't. That night, as doctors ran tests, Aiden stood beside her hospital bed, calm on the outside, crumbling inside. That moment carved a decision into him. He would no longer wait for someone else to save her. He would become the one who did. The dream had stopped being abstract. It had found a deadline. Aiden applied to every medical program within reach. He filled out applications between night shifts, wrote essays after double shifts. Maya didn't know how many nights he slept at the library, his head on textbooks. The acceptance letter arrived in spring. Aiden cried alone in the laundry room, biting his lips so Maya wouldn't hear. Tuition was high even with scholarships, so he worked, studied, and went without clothes, outings, anything extra. Meanwhile, Maya pretended to be fine. She hid her prescriptions, lied about pain levels. She didn't want to distract him, but Aiden saw it in her eyes. The timeline was shrinking. The pressure was rising. But he never faltered. Not once. While his classmates enjoyed breaks and parties, Aiden worked in a hospital cafeteria and tutored freshmen for extra cash. He wore shoes with holes in them, stitched at the edges. Some days he didn't eat lunch, but he never missed a class, never showed up unprepared. He studied with feverish discipline, every page reminding him of his reason. Back home, Maya's condition quietly worsened. She lost weight, grew paler. Yet in every call, she told Aiden, "I'm proud of you. Keep going." She never once asked him to come home. But he felt it in the pauses, in the silence between sentences. They were both holding on, both quietly breaking, and still neither let go. It was during his third year, while shadowing a cardiologist, that his phone buzzed. Maya's number. She rarely called during the day. I couldn't breathe this morning," she said softly. "But I'm fine now." Aiden stepped out of the room, hand clenched around the phone. He wanted to run to her, but his exams were days away. That night he didn't sleep. He reread every chapter twice. He passed the test and booked the next train home. Seeing her on the couch, thinner than before, hit him like a wave. But she smiled, pulled him into a hug. "You're almost there," she whispered. "Don't stop now." And he didn't. In his final year, Aiden took rotations in internal medicine, geriatrics, and finally immunology. He requested it quietly, eyes steady. "I want to understand autoimmune conditions better," he told his mentor. He studied her symptoms, her medications, her case history without letting her know. Every paper he wrote, every diagnosis he practiced, he imagined her in place of the patient. On the day he passed his final exam, he sat on a bench outside the hospital. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "We made it, Mom." The wind brushed his face gently, almost like a reply. Aiden stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his white coat for the first time as Dr. Aiden Malik. The weight of the fabric felt sacred, years of sacrifice stitched into every thread. In his hand he held a patient file. The name at the top stopped him cold. Maya Malik. His hands trembled slightly. This wasn't just a patient. This was his reason. The staff nurse didn't know. No one did. But this was the moment. He inhaled deeply, straightened his shoulders, and stepped into the exam room. His dream wasn't just alive. It was standing on the edge of becoming real. Maya sat quietly, flipping through a magazine, unaware of the surprise waiting. When Aiden walked in, she froze. For a second, she thought she was dreaming. "Dr. Malik?" she whispered, eyes wide. He smiled. "Yes, Mom. Your doctor today." Tears brimmed in her eyes as she stood. "You did it." Aiden walked over, gently taking her hands. "You made me. Every night, every sacrifice. You gave me this." The room filled with silence, the kind that speaks louder than words. She reached up, touched his face, and whispered, "I'm in the best hands now." He guided her through the appointment gently, professionally, but with a tenderness no textbook could teach. Every question was asked with care, every note taken with precision. Maya, once the protector, now allowed herself to be cared for. There was no pride between them, only trust. He listened to her lungs, checked her vitals, reviewed her scans. When their eyes met, it wasn't doctor and patient. It was a son giving back a lifetime of love. The moment felt surreal. All the years, the pain, the promise, it had brought them here. Full circle. In the weeks that followed, Aiden took over her full treatment plan. He adjusted medications, scheduled therapies, and monitored every detail. Maya's health began to improve. Her strength returned, color filled her cheeks. But something deeper healed too. The years of quiet endurance now held meaning. Neighbors noticed the change. She walked more, laughed more. For the first time in decades, she rested without worry. Her son had become the very shield she once was. Their bond deepened, not as caregiver and child anymore, but as equals in love, trust, and survival. One evening, Maya surprised Aiden with dinner, homemade curry and warm bread, just like childhood. They ate in silence at first, the kind only comfort allows. Then she placed an envelope in front of him. Inside was the crumpled sketch he once drew, the stethoscope and heart from the waiting room. "I kept it," she said softly. "It reminded me what we were fighting for." Aiden blinked away tears. "I never forgot," he whispered. In that moment, no speeches were needed. The food, the drawing, the quiet. It all said the one thing they both knew deeply: thank you. Months passed. Maya's health steadily improved. Her symptoms faded. Her posture changed, no longer bent by fatigue. She walked to the market again. She joined a book club, laughed louder, slept better. Every follow-up visit with Aiden became lighter, more hopeful. She'd say, "You look more like a doctor now," and he'd smile, replying, "You look more like yourself." There was no miracle drug. It was care, consistency, and the power of love returned. The woman who once carried the world on her back now walked freely beside the son she raised from dreams and sacrifice. Their story quietly began to ripple outward. Aiden's colleagues started calling him the doctor with the most heart. He never bragged, but his patients felt something different in his presence, as if he truly understood the weight behind every worry. Maya was invited to speak at a local women's center. She shared her journey, not as a victim, but as a survivor, a mother whose love didn't just shape a child's future but saved her own. People cried. People clapped. And many said, "We needed this." One family's love had become a beacon for others. That spring, the hospital hosted a private recognition ceremony. Aiden was honored not just for academic excellence, but for compassionate service. Maya sat in the front row, wearing a new dress and a smile that could outshine the sun. When he walked across the stage, instead of shaking the dean's hand, Aiden stepped off and handed his mother the certificate. "This belongs to you," he said. The room went silent, then erupted in applause. It wasn't just about becoming a doctor anymore. It was about the journey, the promise, the quiet, unstoppable love that had carried them both. Years later, Aiden opened a clinic in the same neighborhood where he was raised. The waiting room was warm, welcoming, and always full. Maya sat at the front desk sometimes, greeting patients with a calm kindness only she could offer. They'd ask, "You're his mother?" And she'd nod proudly. The clinic's name hung on the wall in simple lettering, Maya Health and Family. It wasn't just a tribute, it was a legacy. A place where every patient was seen, truly seen. Where struggle wasn't judged. And where healing was built on the same foundation that healed him. Sacrifice, patience, and love. On a quiet evening, mother and son walked through the park. No rush, no destination. Just peace. Maya's steps were light now. Her hand rested gently on Aiden's arm. They didn't talk much, they didn't need to. The sky above them turned shades of orange and purple, the breeze soft against their skin. Once he had dreamed of saving her, and now she was here, alive, strong, laughing beside him. Their story wasn't about struggle anymore. It was about victory. Aiden looked over and smiled. "You good?" Maya nodded. "I am now," she whispered, and they kept walking together. Some stories end with a happy ending, but this one starts with a promise fulfilled. From food stamps to stethoscopes, this single mom and her son redefined what love can truly do. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who believes in family, and subscribe for more emotional journeys just like this. And in the comments, tell us, what's the greatest sacrifice someone made for you? We'd love to hear your story.